So this
So
is
I'll do that during.
basically the question is like when to start dropping slash counterattacking versus Protoss.
Okay. Migraine is a very good Protoss. For you guys who don't know, it's been taking quite a few games off me. In Zerg vs Protoss lately. Does some really... I think the best thing about Migraine is lots of little abnormal pressures, which is like the best thing you want to do against Zerg. If you do slightly like not the normal thing, Zerg players aren't quite ready for it. So we get to do a quick high-level analysis here. And Old Man Slum's question is to do with dropping and when to counterattack, when to drop, and that sort of thing. So I assume Old Man Slum's going to play a Lurker Hydra game, something like that, do some counters. So we're going to see how that plays out. Ardillo Damus, thank you so much for the Twitch Prime sub. Thank you so much, friend.
I also copy-pasted the full question. It's very specific.
Okay. Where'd you paste it? In the Discord Newbie channel, or?
Just like in chat, like hit enter.
Which chat? Oh, there. When to... Wait, sorry. Oh, you posted it in the game. Sorry. That's what I meant by chat. I was looking at Discord like a dummy. Okay, with ZvP going the drop style, should you wait to drop after denying their first push when they take a fourth, or should drops be hitting earlier than that? I'm also not 100% sure on the gas timings. Okay. Ooh, this is a really good question from Old Man Slum. So this is some high-level Zerg vs Protoss, guys. The newbie stream, yes, we try to focus on fundamentals and newbie stuff, but we give free coaching to GMs, to Masters players as well, and we kind of get the whole breadth, and I think this is exciting for everyone. So let's fast forward past the early game, since that's not the focus, and let's talk about the mid game. We can go forward and kind of assess from some point there as well. This was Phoenix into Oracle. Pro tip, something I've been talking to pros about a bit and criticizing them for in my casts, is spore timing. So I just wanted to very quickly double check the spore timing. Yeah. So Old Man Slum's doing a sloppy. So basically, unless you're really, really scared of losing this Overlord to a Stalker, that Overlord should always go into the main... Oh no, it was Oracle first. Wait. Oh, he did spot it.
Yeah,
let me, but he spotted it kind of late. Let me check. Ooh, sent both Overlords across the map. Interesting. So this is not as common in high-level ZvP right now because everyone gets a Phoenix out. So most people just use a single Overlord to scout because otherwise the Phoenix has a guaranteed 2 kills. That's okay. Spore timing is good then. Spore timing is nice and safe. Yeah, okay, cool. Let's fast forward, check the drone count as we get to that mid-game. Generally speaking, theory-wise, you always want to be aggressive well before the Protoss can push you because the moment a Protoss pushes you as Zerg, the problem is it's hard to figure out if they're committing or not. A Protoss can often just do a fake push, and even if at a point you realize their push is actually like, wait, he's just getting storm and double upgrades and crazy shit behind this, what the hell? You try to jump on their army and they just like recall out, or they just abuse a choke point so you can't jump on their army. And for Protoss, it's all about buying time. If a Protoss player is playing greedy and they buy even a single extra minute for themselves of freedom, then you're just kind of screwed as a Zerg player who wants to play a multi-prong drop style. Because if you're playing multi-prong or drop, you don't have Broodlords. You don't have the answer, you know, in terms of adaptive Talon lurkers against, you know, some sort of big Storm Immortal Archon army, right? You're relying on positioning and numbers to get them out of position and that sort of thing. So early on in this game, I feel like Old Man Slum's defended quite well, is going for a fast Lurker Den, which is nice, but the 4th base not particularly early. So one problem with Lurker play is if you don't get a fast enough 4th and get the gases up there, you end up very gas starved when you want to be making drop lords, when you want to be making Lurkers. So I mean, if I look at this game, I say to myself, well, why didn't we have a 4th hatchery down a little bit earlier? Like, let's take a look at this. It's a pretty fast Hydra Den in this game, and I don't think the Hydra Den this early really serves that much of a function, especially with what Old Man's seen. So the reason I'm saying this is because it's like, well, you haven't even built any roaches for safety. Old Man Slums has gone 6 queens, which is definitely a bit beefier on the queens, so you can afford to be a little bit lighter on the units, but I feel like Old Man Slum here 100% should have been building some safety roaches, especially seeing no 3rd base yet. I mean, should have been very worried about, like, if a ton of chargelets warped in with this prism, it would have just been game over. So Old Man Slum was being a little bit greedy and got away with it, but could have squeezed a 4th in much earlier during all this. That 4th could have been down at 6 minutes. That's a, what, 50-second difference? Yeah, 50-second difference on those 4th gases mining. 4th base gases, really important. Very important if you're doing lurkers and drops. Overlord speed also. Basically, as soon as I start building Hydras, I'm already going Overlord speed. So this is about as late as you'd be wanting to get it. Now, the most important thing in this scenario as the Zerg player, and this is what Migraine's really good at. Look at this shitty army. He's going to create pressure with this army, even though he can't really fight you. He's got a few force fields. You take a sloppy engage of this, he just kills like 7 roaches, backs off, right? This creates so much threat and fear. Ideally, we punish the Protoss really friggin' hard for doing this. And this is why there's an arms race for map control if you're playing a drop style in ZvP. As the Zerg player, you should be looking to get out on the map as soon as you're comfortable. So once you've got 3 bases saturated, which we've had for a little while as Slum, and you've got some roaches out, you actually want to split off most of your army. So one thing we're missing here is an Overseer. You should always have an Overseer to get rid of this dirty Observer boy, because this gives Migraine too much vision. Vision is so important. And you should basically have a Roach on each Watchtower or a Zergling, because if they've got Zealots there, that also gives them so much vision. But you want to split off about, what we call, is this a distraction squad or a problem army? Basically, enough units that a single warp in will not deal with it. A single Immortal and a few Zealots warping in, popping out at home is not going to deal with it. It's an army that's big enough to punish them if their army's on the map really hard, or to force a recall, right? So what is that? That's about 13, 14 units. So that's basically this Roach army here. This Roach force, if he'd killed the Observer and these Roaches were already on the top just waiting on that Watchtower, and you go, oh shit, he's pushing onto creep. There is no way Protoss can punish you at this time. Now, if you wanted to be 100% sure, obviously Old Man Slum's APM is not that amazing. He hasn't been doing like Serral stuff. If we were talking perfect Zerg play, Slum should have been scouting with Zerglings to confirm this third was probed up. Should have been scouting with Overseers or Zerglings to scout. Yeah, you're taking the gases on the third, you're probing your third. Because if you know the Protoss is committing to that much economy, there's no way Protoss actually wants to fight here. Like, Migraine here is basically just being like, I have the biggest nads. I look at how giant my balls are. I'm Protoss, and I'm on your side of the map when I really shouldn't be. So the thing is, I think Migraine way overcommits here. He loses units, but yeah, he's going to recall. Where's the focus fire? Where's the focus? Oh, didn't kill any of the important units. Old Man Slum missing out. The thing is, that looks bad for Protoss, but already he's kind of kept you at home. And you can bounce back from here, but let's imagine this scenario entirely different. Let's imagine at the 7-minute mark, our Queens have already killed this Observer, and our Roaches are already running to the north side of the map. At 7 minutes 30, suddenly, a Protoss army appears on the edge of creep. 710, 720, around here. This army can't run in and kill your drones. It cannot. There is like literally no way. All he wants to do is force a reaction, keep your army pinned at home. If your Roaches running on the third base at this point, assuming they don't all get frozen by this very clever stasis ward, what can Migraine do? Well, right now, he actually doesn't have energy for a recall on his third. So you might just massacre the third and basically win the game by just hamstringing his economy before he even gets established. So you're punishing him moving out at a moment where you will never see Need move out at this moment, or very rarely. The only time you'll see that is if they control the watchtowers, so they know there's no counterattacks, right? If you can do that, suddenly he's pulled home. And that distraction squad is so important. If he recalls, you just run away. And what does that do? It gives you full map control. You've already got 5 overlords going down to the south side of the map. You pick up most of your army down there, and you just go drop in the main base. Or you attack the 4th. If his whole army's there, you pick up, you drop in the main. At the same time, that distraction squad runs back in on the 3rd on the top, and you absolutely wreck him. But the important thing is you don't have lurkers yet. You don't have all this crazy good shit yet, right? And it's really when lurkers come in that you want to start fighting, forcing engagements. But up to that point, you need to keep the Protoss back, because otherwise they can come forward, they can clear creep, they can be greedy. Often you see Protoss players do a move like this and have a 4th behind it and get away with that. And it generally is something where you're just kind of letting them get away with too much stuff on their side of the map, on your side of the map. If you've got the map control, if you've got the towers, if you've got the counterattack squad, the Protoss player ends up pinned, they lose map vision, especially if you say snipe the Oracle, spread the units out so you don't get revelated too much. The Protoss player ends up in this very dark position where, look at his map control right now. He's got to move out because he's like, I don't see anything. He doesn't know if lurkers are going to run in on his 4th base here. He doesn't know if you're going to, do a big drop behind there. He doesn't know what's happening on the map. And that's your quest as a dropping player, because it really isn't until very late in the game where Protoss can actually defend all those bases. And your job is to get in there before the cannon, shield, battery, storm walls get up all over the place, before units get up everywhere. But because we're a little bit slow doing that. Once again, Protoss is up in our side of the map, forcing us to focus on the defense rather than getting the drop going. We're being forced to pull most of this drop army home and engage kind of on his terms. Once again, I think Migraine's being a little bit YOLO here with how he's moving forward. Like, this should not have been such a deep dive. Migraine's being a little bit sloppy with maintaining map control, but he's taking these fights where he's got a fourth behind it. And he's like, well, you know what? Yeah, this is it. Like, I'm actually just doing really, really well right now. But it's such a different game. If he moves out, Roaches run into the third. If he pushes out, and Lurkers run in and siege here before these cannons are done. So it's very much about making sure the Protoss can't put you on the defensive early, because if they can put you on the defensive early, you can fall way, way behind. They can start just pushing across the map into your production, and you never want to commit your army to the defense, because as much as Migraine appears to have just headbutted in these fights, and it's like, well, yeah, if we just defended and killed these armies, that would be great. Migraine, if he saw the whole army was on the defense, he just backs off. He sharks around. He never engages in the open, and you can't jump on that army. If he's down here defending this choke, you can't rush in there and force a fight. If he's here, you can't rush down this ramp and force a fight, and that's what Migraine's relying on, is his army wrecks the Zerg army in a front-on fight, but if you can create problems in multiple locations, suddenly he says, you know what? Guess what? I don't have all the pieces. If we go back to the 8-minute mark, the 9-minute mark, this is the point where Protoss doesn't have all the pieces. What does Protoss have? And let's think about it. As Zerg, people often take these one-directional engagements and they get in this mindset of Protoss is so bullshit. Terran players have the same problem. Let's actually look at the pieces that Migraine has right now. 4 Immortals, 3 Archons, and a bunch of High Templar that don't have Storm yet. This is a terrible army. But if we get Storm, and 6 High Templar with Storm, if we get another 2 or 3 Immortals, suddenly 6 or 7 Immortals, 4 Archons, 6 High Templar with Storm, holy crap, that's a scary army. But even at that stage, if you're suddenly dropping in 3 locations, that army isn't going to be in position. If this army has to fight into a pre-spread siege up of Lurkers that are on a base, it's suddenly not that good. It's only good if the Protoss can get you to fight in one location, and this is Protoss in a nutshell, and it's what every player needs to understand, even on a beginning level, but especially on a high level, is against Protoss, you don't want to fight into them. All Protoss wants is to use all their spells, all their power in one direct engagement. If you can instead focus on creating problems with counterattacks or with drops, and simply hitting multiple mineral lines, that's a great way. And what that allows you to do is, it doesn't mean you're doing drop, drop, drop in 4 locations at once. You don't need to be microing like crazy. It could just be drop a Lurker here, or drop a bunch of Hydras in the main, and then that allows you to run forward and burrow 10 Lurkers here, spread out with Roach Hydra spread. And how is Protoss going to break that? He's got to run up through a choke point with Immortal Storm, or he loses his base and all his probes. So it's about using the problems to allow your army to get in a forward position. Once you've got Lurkers out in numbers, the Protoss is deep, deep in the doo-doo. So GG, well played. Old Man Slum played a pretty good game, but definitely one where we see Migraine was able to kind of just power ahead, get the 4th up, keep trading pretty well, and once the Protoss is ahead in economy, it's all ogre. And there's just no way to deal with this sort of army with the rally.
So, when you said before, when the Protoss is pushing out, what are the tells when Protoss is pushing out? Especially early on with the Archon drop, with an Archon Zealot Warp Prism.
Cool. So I think the big things here, we can talk about some safety rules for Zerg vs Protoss, is what has Old Man Slum seen at this stage? Let's ignore the Warp Prism. This is a very fast Archon drop. It's 5 minutes 20 and we haven't seen a 3rd base. But Old Man Slum's got a good economy. Base fully saturated. Main base fully saturated. 3 gases. Bunch of drones on the 3rd. It's actually going for a 4th and 5th gas very quickly. Very quickly. A little bit greedy, but that's okay. At this stage, if you haven't seen a 3rd from Protoss and you're going to build more drones, you're what we call a psychopath. So even if we saw no Warp Prism, no attack, it's not so much about seeing the actual attack coming. I mean, it's great if you've got Lings on the towers, you've got Lings outside, and you spot this Prism coming, right? It's a tell. But this is just standard Protoss vs Zerg right now, is they're going to make a Warp Prism and press you with Archons, especially if there's no early 3rd, right? No 3rd down at 5 minutes, 5 minutes 20. He's definitely going to be doing something. So if you stop at 53, 55 drones, anywhere around 2 base saturation, 3 gases with just a handful of drones, you pump out a whole ton of Roaches, or if you're playing Lingbane Hydra, you're trying to get those Hydras out as quickly as possible, obviously, off the back of Ling Queen. And basically you just build roaches for a while you check what's going on. Because what could he be doing? Well, he could be doing just 10 gateways, right? Even if he builds the third, he might not even be probing that, which he hasn't done yet. He warps in 10 zealots. You know, you've got to be massing units right now as the defensive player. What we see is a queen startup. We see Old Man Slum not building any units, even though he saw those High Templar, and he builds 8 more drones. So this is what I meant by he's been a greedy boy, he's been a psychopath. That's just not a safe, fundamental Zerg versus Protoss play. Because, hey, his third's just started. I know I'm ahead on economy by being at 53 drones against 45 probes maximum that's being used on 2-base. My green can't get more efficiency out of those probes. Build at least a few rounds of roaches in general to be safe, and you don't even need to spot it coming, and you'll be fine.
So, you said from Old Man Slum that the Hydrogen is too early. Why is the Hydrogen too early? What can you do better about it?
I think it's just one of these things where it's like, it's great to get the lair up to get roach speed, to get an overseer if you need it against DTs, but it's just not necessary to be investing in lurkers yet, because it's more important to just use roaches. Against an Archon charged attack, any early attack, Immortal timing comes out, you want Ravagers, you want roaches. These are the cheapest, most efficient, quickest unit to build in early game fights. Obviously, they suck later on compared to Hydras. Hydras are a much better unit throughout the whole mid-game. You can use Hydras all game long. They're a great unit. The thing is, Hydras are slow, they're way more expensive, and they suck balls without upgrades. Roaches, even without roach speed, are pretty good. Hydras are glass cannons, and when you don't have the upgrades, there's 2 expensive, slow upgrades for them. We see one that's not even... You're just not going to get them out as a useful, cost-efficient unit until much later in the game. So going straight for Hydras is something you don't do if you're investing in roach tech. You only do that if you're doing one of these greedier plays where you're like, I'm going to try and rush to Hydras and just hope I can survive to them. We see a lot of Zerg players try to do that, and that's why so many Protoss players do charge lot all-ins. It's because they're like, no, I'm going to kill you. This is the whole meta game that's kind of sprung up around that. So generally speaking, my rule is pretty much fully saturate 3 bases, have a 4th on the way, and that's when I really start focusing on going, let's make sure I'm actually building Hydras now. Maybe I've already started the Hydra by this point, but maybe it's like, okay, let's get those upgrades on the way, you know. Any point where I'm under threat, I'll focus more on roaches first. Sorry.
Can you turn up Discord sensitivity? It's in settings, voice and video, and then...
Has mine been cutting out a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
Just like, I think you shifted towards the green side.
Yeah. I wonder if it's on auto right now.
It's on auto, automatically determine input sensitivity.
Yep.
Toggle it, and then I think you move it to the left.
I mean, it's on the minimum right now, so yeah, let's...
It's on minimum?
Well, I mean, because I've just turned it on manual. Yeah, but it was on auto before.
Okay.
So this should be fine. Let me know.
Yeah.
That should be cool.
Okay.
You guys can probably hear me breathing now.
Yes.
Oh, that's fine. I enjoy that.
But yeah, this was a high-level replay, so we don't have to spend too much time on this one, guys. But yeah, if there's any more discussion, it's pretty cool.
2 more small questions. There is this point where Migraine is attacking with the 2 Archons and the Observer. Is it worth it getting an Overseer there just to snipe the Observer? Because it's obvious there's one close.
Always, always. That's like the reminder, that moment where they've got 2 Archons and they're picking off your creep tumors. That's like the reminder in case you ever forget to build an Overseer. I love it when Protoss does this because I'm like, well, oh, you're killing my... Oh, there's clearly an Observer. Always make an Overseer. If you get rid of that, it's... I mean, think about where the creep spread was. It was already to the middle of the map. Like, the creep spread would have been insane if he shut down that Observer earlier.
And why should the Zerg player get there 4th so early? Like you said, it could be a bit earlier. Do you just want the geysers?
Just the gas, yeah. I mean, you definitely can get drones on the minerals if you want to play a longer term style. But because I talk so much about momentum and keeping your units on the map, you know, you're trying to stop the Protoss from attacking you, right? Because he wants to keep your whole army in one place. That's what Migraine kept trying to do this game. He's like, I'm attacking you. Oh, recall home when I get in trouble. Because he's just trying to keep the Zerg together. The more you can keep the Zerg in a ball, the happier Protoss is, because it's just one threat rather than many threats. So generally speaking, you just kind of go into it and you say, mental blank. What was the question?
Why does the Zerg get the 4th base earlier?
Right.
Or why is he supposed to get it so early?
Right, yeah. So you just want the gas there because you need to get lurkers. That's where you can take a front-on fight. Once you get lurkers sieged on a base, right?
And
Like-
for production too.
Yeah, because you're going Overlord speed is 100 gas. Let's say you make 5. The way I like to do it is about 5 dropper lords on the bottom of the map. That's 125 gas. I often make 2 dropper lords on the top of the map as well. And depending on where the action's at, I kind of like rotate my units around, right? That's another 50 gas up there. You're building hydras and lurkers. Oh, it's such a gas heavy comp. You need that gas. But often as the game goes on, I'll try to squeeze out maybe another 8 drones on minerals on the 4th. And obviously around the 9-minute mark, you're transitioning workers from your main base anyway, because your main starts running out of minerals. So your 4th ends up fully saturated with about 8 drones on minerals and about 8 from your main. But I think honestly for most players, even right through to GM, you can sit at like 70 workers. That's like all you need. Just get the gases on your 4th because you're going to struggle to use that amount of money efficiently. So it's only a very high level thing where you want to be going up to 80 plus drones, especially with this style, because this is an aggressive mid-game style where it's more important to put your attention on your positioning, your drops, your multi-prong, than it is on like, let's have a few more drones. Like if you're going Broodlords, if you're going late game, yeah, get some more drones, get some bigger economy, build static defense everywhere. But we're playing an aggressive game. We're playing a fast mobile game, so we don't want to do that here.
Okay, so that's it for the chat questions.
Cool. Let's hop out of this one then. This was a really good one from Old Man Slum. You know, it's so funny because I had this same experience, what he was asking there, where you have these games on ladder where you just wreck it, where you get your drops in, you get your attacks in, and you're like, whoa, Protoss is shit against lurkers and drops. This is great. And then you have the games which are the opposite, right? And you're like, okay, he pushed in, I tried to defend, okay, I started loading up a drop, but then there's charge lots in my main, and then his army pushed in with Storm on my 3rd, and I just died? Is Protoss broken? Like, what? You get these very swingy games because your whole strategy is not based around centralized power. It's based around mobility and map control. So yeah, I ended up noticing that the key was the details. It's the player who'd have a zealot on each watchtower and would stop me from holding the watchtowers. It's the player who'd shark around and force an overreaction with his little push in the middle, where I'd pull my whole army back to defend because I'd be afraid of that push. And then I'd be like, wait a second, why am I pulling home for this? I was like, what the hell? Like, this is not even a scary army. He's never going to push into my mineral line of this. He just wants me to pull everything back. He wants me to not counterattack. And so I kind of said, you know what? Even if this army pushes in and I'm not really prepared at home, it's fine because he can kill. He can force my drones off my 3rd. I can run them to my 4th and I lose my 3rd base. If that means I've got 15 roaches in his 3rd base, guess who wins that scenario, guys? Protoss base is a lot more important than a Zerg base is. Any messy, base tradey, dirty down and dirty situation, Zerg is the advantaged player. So it makes a big difference there. Thank you very much, guys.